She said, take your time, Mr. Rush. I said, baby, I'm a dog, I'm a mutt.
Come with me while I make this chicken parm dinner for my husband and me. So the first thing that I did was mix breadcrumbs and Parmesan cheese in a bowl. In hindsight, I didn't need this much breadcrumbs, but I used the Italian breadcrumbs. The box that I'm using says plain, but they're not. I just reused my containers. I used Parmesan Romano cheese mix for my Parmesan. I threw it in there. I made sure I got out all the clumps, and I just made sure it was really, really well mixed for the breading. Like I said, I didn't end up needing all of this because I only made 6 pieces of chicken. So I ended up having to throw away the rest of my mixture. But at the same time, I started my pot of water for my rice. I used 2 bottles of water because they equal 2 cups of water each bottle. Because I'm making 4 cups of rice. If you want to measure it out, that's fine, but this is how I cook it. My oven's also preheating at 300 for the chicken parm to go through. When cooking, I always salt my water beforehand as well. I am a firm stickler in salting my water with the salt that I'm using, Pink Himalayan. I just really like it. Now, the chicken was supposed to be chicken breast. I had chicken tenderloins, thighs, and that's what I ended up using. I patted them dry. I cut out the tendon thingies that are sitting there because I don't like the texture of them. So I cut them out to the best of my ability. I patted them dry again, and because I couldn't find my meat pounder thingy, I used this mallet that I found, which is used for grinding up stuff. And this is what I ended up using. And it works. It's just flattening it out because it makes it easier to cook through without having to turn the chicken over repeatedly. And I didn't need the paper towel to do this, but I realized that at the last point, as usual. So, I mean, it worked. So, not that big of a deal, I guess.
Ladies and gentlemen, salt and pepper!
LOL. I love Patrick. Anyway, so again, Pink Himalayan salt. I used the black pepper. I use coarse ground black pepper, also known as restaurant style. I hate finely grounded black pepper. Garlic powder, onion powder. I use the white pepper powder, just a little bit of it, just to give it a shot. And of course, my favorite go-to seasoning, which is the oregano mixture. What's it called? Italian. Yeah, the Italian seasoning. Yeah, so seasoned both sides of it. Like I said, I ended up making 6 pieces of chicken, so I got my smallest pan. And it turned out fine, they all fit. Now the minced onions, I ended up putting in the breading because I didn't want them on the chicken. But I realized that at the last minute. So, at this point, the water is boiling, the oven is preheated. The water has to be boiling when you add the butter and the rice. I add a half a stick, a little bit more than a half a stick because I love my rice to be buttery. I let the butter melt in the water pretty much completely before I add my 2 cups of rice. I don't want to hear anything about me not washing my rice. I haven't died from it yet, and I've never gotten a complaint on a pot of rice I've ever done. Ever. Stirred it, added the top, turned it on medium-low or low, depending if you can't cook. I proceeded to add butter to my breadcrumb cheese mixture because I didn't want my breading to be super crunchy. I wanted it to have like a nice crunch to it, but I wanted it to be like palatable. My gums bruise really easily. And it turned out great. I used an entire thing of butter. I only used like 3 tablespoons of butter to mix in with this. But like I said, I didn't even need this many breadcrumbs. But that's on me. I mixed it really, really well. I used up all the butter. I proceeded to season all of the chicken the exact same way. And I added it to the pan. I didn't grease the bottom of the pan. And I barely remembered to add the olive oil. But I had to pat it multiple times to get some crust on there. And I didn't think it was crusted enough, but it's okay because I remedied that. Like I said, I was really shocked that it turned out so good because I don't recall ever making this chicken parmesan, and I was hoping that me adding stuff would mess it up. I added olive oil to this little bottle because we magically lost our bottle of olive oil. This was so hard to squeeze out, and it took everything in me, and it was very embarrassing as I was recording this, and I couldn't squeeze it out. So I got my baster brush. I got what did come out on the sides, and I just brushed and basted that on the chicken that was there, patted what got on the chicken down, and I just basted it really well. Now, I hate the way olive oil smells. I hate the way it tastes. So, in like fashion, I got the next best thing. Butter. I melted some butter. Again, like 4 tablespoons worth. 4 or 5. I don't know, I'm just guesstimating. I don't measure my stuff ever. But I basted butter on every single piece of chicken in this pan and around the sides of it as well so that it could get that nice, good crunch, I guess. Yeah, and I just did every single thing, and I just painted them all with the butter. And it, like I said, it ended up turning out fine. I was just hoping it wouldn't be messed up because I ended up adding the butter. Like I said, I added the extra breadcrumbs on the top because I didn't feel like it was enough breadcrumbs. I added it on top, and like I said, it turned out great, so it wasn't that big of a deal. And I just wished I could have thought to save this for another time, but I probably won't make chicken parm again for the next 5 years. That's just how I am. This was really good. I just sprinkled as much as I wanted on there. I knew that the butter and the oil mixture would balance it out. Now, in this pan, I decided to add Brussels sprouts. So, of course, my good friend Butters. I melted the butter. The pot was on high. It didn't need to be. It could be on medium. I melted the half a stick of butter down, and I had 1 bag of Brussels sprouts. I added that. I put my Italian seasoning, my salt, and just a little bit of black pepper, because I am not a black pepper fanatic. I put that in there. I stirred it really well, and I also added the minced onions, as you see here. A nice, healthy dose of minced onions, because they cook down really well. I like the taste. I added that. I mixed it in really, really well. It was good. One flew out, obviously, and then another 2 flew out. But I mixed it up really well. I added just a splash of water, and I do mean just a splash of water.
Yep.
Just enough to cover the bottom of the pan to a degree. And to help it steam cook, I put that on high, and I let it cook down. My rice was done. It smelled great. It looked great. It was just perfection. It was just perfect. So at this point, only thing I'm waiting on for 20 minutes was the chicken in the oven. Brussels sprouts still on high. I went and I stirred them up again. They should be less frozen at this point. I stirred them up really well, and I just kept it in that watery mixture and kept it on high, but then I turned it down to like a medium later on. Chicken parm is done in the oven for 20 minutes on 400. I love using my Stitch oven mitts. I just love them. But I pulled out the chicken parm. The sizzle was amazing. It shocked me, and I was so happy. So the organic pasta sauce I got from Walmart is like almost $4 a jar, but I grated some mozzarella cheese. Now, I didn't have shredded mozzarella, but this was a block of mozzarella whole milk cheese because I couldn't find like whole fat. They don't do that for some strange reason. But I just grated as much as I wanted on there, and I got tired of grating, and I had the bright idea to just slice cheese and put it up there. So I have that rounded spoon-like spatula for the pasta sauce. And so for my 3, I didn't put as much pasta sauce because my acid reflux is hideous. Like really, really bad. I was even like going against this low-key, but chicken parm can't not have sauce. For my husband's 3, I added a bit more. He told me later on I gave him a little bit of heartburn, but that's because he gorged his food also in one go. Because he said it was really good, and that always makes me feel good because I don't cook for him often because of his diet. So when I do cook, I tend to go all out because I am a husband's girl. That is me, 100%. So I added extra for his, just a little bit more on my 3. And then I proceeded to slice cheese. Off camera, obviously. And I just added the cheese. It's not pretty, and I don't care. Because I don't care. I added the cheese to all 6 pieces, enough for them to coat the whole piece of chicken. But they're small pieces of chicken. So, it coated it just fine. And I realized I probably could have had more cheese, but I didn't cut up more. So it went back in the oven for another 5 minutes. This was the pan that's being used for my rolls. Now, the rolls came with a pan. I didn't know that until I took them out of the package. But that's okay, because I like my rolls to be buttered to the max. I like that buttery taste. I crave that buttery taste. I need that buttery taste. And so I got it. Texas Roadhouse rolls with the cinnamon glaze. So the Brussels sprouts are done at this point. I stirred a little bit more. I turned off the eye because they were done. So at this point, the rolls were supposed to go in at 350 for 25 to 30 minutes, but my oven was on 400, so they went in the oven on 400 for, I want to say 5 to 10 minutes.
It's beautiful!
So this was my cheese. I liked how it looked. These were the rolls. I put that cinnamon glaze in a small bowl. I didn't melt it or anything. I just let it naturally thaw. This was nice and hot. So as I spread it, it was just beautiful. It was perfection. It was just... I'm a butterholic. I wouldn't eat raw butter, by the way. But I love my biscuits to be buttered. Not in any weird way. But I just drizzled that glaze on it as much as I possibly could. And then what was left, I put it in the cracks and crevices. Because I liked it to drip down. The sides, the innards, all of that. Because that buttery goodness on fresh, hot rolls. Literally nothing else can compare. And I will stand by that. I will die on that hill. So at this point, everything is done. Oven's off. Stove eyes are off. And I'm finishing that glaze. It's so pretty from this angle. I washed my dishes as I go. I hate doing that because it tires me out more. But I didn't want to clean the kitchen all night. So there's that. This is my husband's plate. There's the rice. There's the Brussels sprouts. There's 2 cinnamon rolls and the steaks.
Thank you.
And, of course, I'm dramatic, so I have to get his reaction on camera. And then Shogun's. So, there's my plate. I didn't eat a lot because we were supposed to go someplace. We said a prayer. We ended up not going anyplace. And that's okay, because I had just cooked. And it was delicious.
Mm-hmm. Now that's what I'm talking about.
She said, take your time, Mr.